that note with Parker Whirling.
Eric Peters from Perfect Animal.
What's up?
Thank you for joining me for the podcast, man. Happy to have you
Thank
on.
for having me, man.
How have you been?
Very good.
It's a beautiful day outside today.
It is. Yeah. I
After
love the yellow in here. I will say that.
Yes.
I love the yellow theme.
Thank you. Shout out to Valeria. My friend Valeria painted this for me for my birthday a while back. Put the little
That's
LED
a hell of a
lights.
birthday gift.
I know, dude. I almost cried. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe how cool it looked. And it's nice because I don't have if you're watching the YouTube video, which you totally can on the YouTube channel, there's not a whole lot going on. But what is going on is this cool poster, or I don't know what you would call it, this sign, I guess, this wooden sign. And it does add a whole lot more production value.
It does.
You know?
Makes it sophisticated looking.
Yeah, it feels official.
Did Valeria design this logo?
So I had some dude in Singapore design it
Little
from
Fiverr
Fiverr.
action.
Yeah, yeah, you already know. So
Yeah.
he designed it. I think I just told him like, hey, I kind of want like these two, like a note, like a, I don't know what that's called, not a quarter note. Which one's that? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Whatever.
I know no music theory or
I
anything.
barely know any.
I can't read music.
Yeah, and I teach music, which is kind of
Damn.
I know, but not like sheet music. I'm not good at that. But yeah, I told him I wanted those notes and then like the piano keys in between.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, see, it's subtle. There's so many layers to this this logo. But what's funny is at first he did it with 4 white keys in a row. And I was like, why does that look weird? And then I realized there's no piano that is like that. It's only 3, right? So he's like, oh, my bad. And then he took it off. I'm like, oh, that looks so much better. But then, and then she took that and then traced it or whatever and painted over it.
I love the coloration she put in it.
I know, it's nice. The shading of all the other.
Especially this lettering.
Right,
It really pops out.
Yeah, shout out because she did crush it and it really adds a lot of value. But okay, so happy to have you on. We looked at some albums in the collection here, lots to choose from, and you picked The War on Drugs.
I did.
Lost in the Dream, is that what that one's called?
Yes, I think so.
Nice. Yeah. So why did this one speak to you?
I think I was in the band prior to Perfect Animal. It was called Ugly Smile, and I feel like there's a tendency for bands to have this dynamic of basically everybody competing for sonic space in a track, and I think it really, I really wanted to get away from that. Mm-hmm. And around that same time, I had listened to the War on Drugs discography, and they create so much space, and just their dynamics are perfect. And that really inspired my band. So I love bands like War on Drugs and Kurt Vile.
Yeah.
Sort of having that Americana influence, but also these psychedelic guitar tones where everything seems to be compartmentalized well. I just can't stand when you hear bands, especially live, where everybody's just at 10 and they're doubling chords. They're playing the same chords, not even playing inversions. So that's kind of the spirit of our band is that dynamic has to be met. And if it's not, I'm not really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great philosophy. It's easy to want to just get busy with it and throw everything in, especially if once you start mixing in different people with different egos, some people don't want to not play for 4 measures or whatever. Yeah. They want to play a little lick or they want to do a little drum fill. I've played drums for a long time, and nothing pains me more than some crazy drum solo. I just don't care. I don't want to hear it. Solos in general.
It's always repetitive of other stuff. It's always a trope.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's so hard to make a unique drum fill.
Totally.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My inspirations for that kind of thing are Ringo. Just
because he's tasteful.
He's
playing for the song. It's a unique, original idea. It's not just spazzing out.
Yeah.
We're
playing for the song. It's nice and tasty.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song on this the War on Drugs record?
I really like Red Eyes, and Under the Pressure is really good. That's a great opener.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think Red Eyes might have been the first song I ever heard by them.
I think that's one of their most streamed
Right.
ones on Spotify.
I heard it on a radio station
Nice.
back in
Old
the day.
school.
Yeah, old school. Doesn't happen that much anymore. But I remember hearing that on some like college XM radio station, you know. I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And then I looked them up later and really liked it. But truthfully, this album is the only knowledge of War on Drugs and Kurt Vile that I really have. I don't know him that well at all. But he also has like such a huge
They actually used to be in the
discography.
same band. Kurt Vile used to be his guitar player in War on Drugs.
I
He was
literally
on
thought
that
it was
first
the same
album.
guy.
Yeah, they look the same.
Are you
honestly.
serious? They're not the same
Yeah,
guy?
I'm serious. They're different people. And
Oh my
Kurt
God.
Vile was the original guitarist on that first album. I can't remember the name of it. It's like White album.
Uh-huh.
And then they would go on tour. Kurt Vile would open for the War on Drugs, so he'd play like double sets.
Right, right,
And eventually he left. They're both from like rural ass Pennsylvania,
Oh, okay.
like in the woods.
Okay. I don't feel so
Yeah.
bad now that they do look so similar. And
They got like
sound
the
kind-
long
yeah.
hair. Yeah, the voices are similar.
Yeah.
The sonics are similar.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Literally, I've gone 10 years thinking that they were the same guy. I was like, damn, Kurt Vile's got his hands in everything. That's crazy.
No one can blame you.
Yeah. But I've loved this album. I need to revisit it now that you brought it out.
I just think that like, yeah, it's like new age Americana is
Right.
how I describe it. And like, I've been really getting into MJ Lenderman lately.
Totally.
Like
You
that
just
new
came to
album yeah, I wanted to go, but I didn't have any money.
Damn, yeah, I feel that. I've seen him a couple of times. Once at the 40 Watt like a year ago in Athens, and then actually the first time I saw him was because I had somebody on this podcast, Cannon Rogers, and
Oh
after
yeah.
you know him, Cannon
Yeah.
in the Boxes.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's awesome. After the podcast, he was like, "Yo, are you going to the MJ Lindemann show tonight at the World Famous?" Which I don't know if you know the World Famous in Athens, but it's like
Sounds familiar, but I don't know.
it is a venue, but it's more of like a dive bar that has a stage, more so than like a place that people go to see music all the time. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting place for him to play. I never listened to him, and he just played solo acoustic in a room like barely, a little bit bigger than the size of this room, and it was completely packed. I could barely even see him.
Damn.
Because I was just like pushed to the door, and I didn't know any of his songs, but he was just playing acoustic. And so it's cool to like the day I heard about him, I went and saw him, and
Those are
now
the best,
he's like
man.
blown up. And that Boat Songs album was huge for me.
Yeah.
I loved that, and the new one is.
What's
is
funny
great.
is like I just got into it in like last 2 weeks. And it's just that Manning Fireworks had that new album.
Yeah.
And like I've downloaded all the other stuff. My buddies are obsessed too.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just had that album on repeat and I haven't gotten into the old stuff yet. But
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited to. Yeah.
Dude, Boat Songs is awesome.
Hell
like,
yeah.
I do really enjoy Manning Fireworks. I think there's a few songs on Boat Songs that like You Were Every Girl to Me. That song is still maybe my favorite of his, even though I like probably the full album Manning Fireworks a little bit better. But that song to me is like something about it just scratches an itch that I want. And the new one feels a
Yeah.
little more country.
Yeah, totally.
then
With
the-
those couple opening songs too. He does
Yeah.
that folk picking kind of stuff.
Yeah. Sick. Do you know Anthony Fantano?
Uh-uh.
Okay, don't worry about it. He's a music reviewer who I love, and like is like a very like well-known music reviewer on YouTube. And he gave that album a 3 out of 10.
What?
And people were like going to like hang him in the streets
Boats
for it.
or boat songs or the
Manning
new one?
Fireworks.
What?
Yeah, and every other publication like put it in their like top 10 best albums of the
Dude,
year.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I couldn't believe it. I thought he was. It's funny. He'll wear like flannels, like different color flannels, depending on if it's a yellow flannel, it's gonna be a good album. Like it's gonna be good. If it's red, it's gonna be bad. And he was wearing red in the thumbnail, and I'm like, it's gonna be a
Man.
joke, right? Like
Dude.
I actually thought it was a joke, and I was waiting for him to like take it off and be like, just kidding. And the whole time he was just ripping into it. I'm like, what are you? I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, I could understand if you just gave it like a 5 or a 6 because it's not your thing. But a 3, I thought was disrespectful.
That's disrespectful. His lyrics are incredible, man.
That was the main thing he was tearing apart, actually.
What? It's
Yeah.
like Pavement. I love Pavement.
Totally.
And like that whole lyrical style, like
Yes.
I guess I don't know what you'd call it, avant-garde kind of
Yeah, it
don't know,
almost feels like off the
impressionistic.
cuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love Pavement as well. And I always, when I think of MJ Linderman, I kind of think of Pavement
Yeah.
in that same vein, that
Same
slacker
vocal
rock
style.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But man, we could talk about MJ and Pavement all day. But I do want to get into your album, Soft
man.
Applause, which came out last year. Came out April 17th, right?
It did. It was a long time ago.
And it was Michael at Argyle Records who produced it, right?
Yeah, he prior to that we had been working with Marcus from Pink Bless Productions, and I love Marcus. He taught me so much. He was just such an open book, and but there's just something about analog recording that I really like.
Yeah.
I like having the actual shelf units and like the electronics before you go into the DAW. It just gives more color, more glue, honestly. Especially with like, acoustic bass and drums. I think it really syncs it together well. So Michael uses like a pseudo, he has a bunch of shelf units, and then he runs it into the DAW, and he'll do stuff in the DAW too. But I like that approach a lot more.
Yeah.
I just think it has a more polished thing. I feel like digital, I don't know, like the tracking always feels too separated, if that makes sense. Like each of the instruments is in a pocket instead of cohesive, which I dislike a lot. And like with an album like Soft Applause, it just has that texture all the way through, which you can only get with like that pseudo analog setup, I believe.
Yeah, especially if you're recording analog instruments, acoustic guitars,
Yeah.
drums like that. Maybe if you're doing all digital, maybe it makes sense.
With
but there
electric
is-
guitars, yeah.
Yeah, there is something to the analog outboard gear that does put that glue to it. And sometimes it is very subtle. Like I can't tell you how many times I've done stuff with Tommy and he's like, all right, which one do you like more, this or this? And I'm like, I'd do it again because I don't know. But it's like there is a difference. And even if it's subconscious, it's still there. And it adds up over time the more things you throw in there. And
it's also like you force yourself to be limited in a way because you have to commit to the sound through the unit first.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like forcing yourself to make decisions is a very good way to produce things because you can just get lost in an all digital format. 'Cause
Totally.
it's just infinite tinkering.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there any particular moment you remember from recording this album where like you felt like a quick and easy decision is what helped the momentum of a song get to where it was? Or like a particular decision you felt like?
Honestly, so I bought like an SM81 and one of those Warm Audio preamps, and the whole album started with just the acoustic and getting that good tone out of those things. So I mean, like I would commit quickly to the tone there, and I feel like that's what made everything cascade. When Michael would work on it, like, he would work on it by himself, so I wasn't really part of the mixing process in that way. But I guess committing to the acoustic sound, because the acoustic sound is the central aspect of that album, starting it off the gate. And that Warm Audio unit only has like 2 knobs, it's really simple,
Right.
which I like.
Yeah. Only 2 knobs. You don't have to overthink
Yeah.
anything.
On a related note, I hate pedal boards for that
Oh, really?
reason. Yeah. I like all the effects in the amp. I have like a JC 120. It has like a chorus, because I love chorus.
Right.
And a little distortion knob that acts like an overdrive and a reverb. And that's like, I just like all the effects in the amp. And Michael always laughs at me because we play live, and I just like, everybody has these big pedal boards, and I just have like this little micro tuner, and that's like all I have
That's
on
so
the
cute.
stage.
Yeah.
I just run into the amp. I don't care.
Dude, I respect that
Yeah.
so much though. Like I used to be really into all like the Earthquaker pedals.
Yeah.
For no reason. I didn't even play live at the time. I just wanted to like have cool, weird sounds.
For recording, it's great.
Yeah.
Having a bunch of pedals, like, go all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then live, I'm like, eventually I got a pedal board and I realized I only used like 3 or 4 pedals, like for real. Cause I don't even have the bandwidth to try to figure out how to change everything on the fly so quickly. So the most I ever do is like turn one on and turn one off in between a song.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Everything else is like, it just stays that way the whole song. Sometimes I might turn off a chorus or something, like once it goes to the verse, but that's even at that point, I don't even do that anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever, like just keep it the way it is. It sounds good.
Yeah. Simplicity, man.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
not a guitarist.
It comes from your
guitarist.
hands, your amp, and the guitar. That's
Totally.
it.
Totally.
Yeah.
When it comes to songwriting for this specific album, did you have a North Star, if you will, for an intention? I guess it could also be with the production, but something that you were really going for, because this was the debut album, correct?
Yeah.
So that can always feel like a bit of a statement in a way. It doesn't have to be, but I know it can be a little daunting. Debut album, what do we want to say? Did you have anything in mind, or were you just going off the cuff?
So prior to that album, like, just I've been playing music for a long time, and I would always bring the band like these soft, intimate songs that are really sad. That's like a big part of how I write. Like, I'm a sad boy, I'm a sad girl, and so I had all this stuff built up, and everybody always used to tell me no, and like I just felt like I had to make something like that for myself, and like, you know, I feel like in the past we were trying to make things for what other people would like, and like it's completely bullshit. Like, you just have to make what you like and how you feel in that moment. So I just felt like I had to just express myself in that way. On that note, you know, one of our principles, I guess, is with every release we want to really change pace each time. So that was like our slow burners emotional album, and the one we're working on now is more like electrified and, you know,
Cool
stuff like that. But I just felt like I had to make it. I don't know, I had a lot of emotional stuff that I needed to get out, and yeah, it was very cathartic in that way, because yeah, you have somebody telling you no for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And then you finally get it out.
Yeah.
Were there any, like, I don't know, struggles or inhibitions about doing that? I mean, I know it feels good to get those things out there, but sometimes there are moments where you're like, you're writing it or you're making it and you're like, nice, this sounds great, like this is dope. And then it kind of dawns on you like, oh, people are going to hear this and people are going to listen to it. And you kind of forget about that part until it's even out. And even then it doesn't hit you until somebody's like, yo, just listen to the song. And you're like, oh, wait, yeah, people can hear it now. And like make their own assumptions about it. Were there any moments like that for you?
No, I've shut my brain off to that. Like, I don't know if you've seen all the Rick Rubin like podcasts and stuff when he came out with his book and all that. But one of the things that stuck with me was just like, if you like it, that's the entire value in it, period. And like, you cannot care what other people think. It's irrelevant. It really is. And the irony is that the less you care about what other people think, the more people like it. That's the great irony in music, I think. So you always have those thoughts, obviously, of what people would think of it. But like, I just force myself to ignore it, really. Yeah. And just do what feels good to me, because that's all that matters. It don't matter.
Do you feel like there's been any times over your years of making music that what you like and what you want in your own songs has changed?
Yeah. I mean, I played bass for like 10 years in bands. I was a bassist, and I really liked more punky stuff, more loud, aggressive stuff. I'd jump around and, you know, be very physical with my performances. But at some point, and it went back to that thing I was talking about that dynamic shift to where I got tired of having all the songs maxed out, every instrument maxed out. So I guess I consciously shifted to that more restrained style. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Just, taking it down a notch.
Yeah.
Taking it easy.
Yeah, I guess.
That always feels good. I mean, I almost sometimes feel like I'm the opposite. Like, I want to go harder. Just because when I play those softer songs live, I can feel the crowd just kind of standing there. Whereas if it's faster and we're playing a little bit louder, like people tend to be more engaged when I'm playing. But I also want people to dance.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how I feel like I've been changing, and it's good to change as well. You know, like
It's just however you feel in that moment.
Yeah.
It's like, good writers read a lot of books, and good musicians listen to a lot of music.
Mhm.
So like, I try to listen to a new album every day, and be influenced in a very like almost naive, childlike way of like what I'm listening to in that moment. So it always keeps you in that present state, and you're always constantly influenced by different things and always evolving. I think that's my sweet spot personally. So whatever I'm feeling at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any musical ideas or realms that you are trying to explore further going into the future?
I definitely want to make like a goth album
Oh, cool.
or like a post-punk album.
Sure. Yeah, I know you were looking at the Joy Division album I had in there. You pointed that out. I was like, oh.
I just always think that period of music was so cool because the technology changed and everybody was so creative with the new tools that they had. Made it really exciting. And I like the minimalist production of post-punk. So
who are some like favorite post-punk
I mean, The Cure
bands?
is like my favorite.
Sure, yeah.
Forever.
I never listened to the new album. Was it good?
Yeah, it was really good.
People really fucked with it.
His voice has never changed.
Yeah.
For the 50 years or whatever he's been a band or been in that band. But
it's crazy how long they have been a band.
Yeah.
And like how, I don't know, like how much of a journey they've been on. Because you listen to like Boys Don't Cry, you're like, oh, that's the same band that put out Disintegration.
He's the most influential person to me in music,
Cool.
for sure. I watched this documentary when I was forming this band. It's like 8 hours or something. It's some ridiculous. It's like a fan made thing.
Okay, yeah.
And one of his philosophies is with every album he wants to contradict the previous album, and through that he constantly evolves his writing, which I really like that idea.
Yeah.
And like always surprising your listener base. I like that.
Yeah. I was talking with Spencer Thomas, who was on the pod yesterday, and he was saying, we were just talking about the idea of bands or artists giving you what they want to make, not giving you what you think they want to make.
Yeah.
And how I would rather a favorite band of mine or an artist I really like to swing and miss than just kind of churn out the same thing again. Because at least, I don't know, I'm like Toro y Moi. Do you know them?
Mm-mm.
They're Toro y Moi is like a guy, his name's Chaz from South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. And he's been making music for a long time, like over 10 years, maybe 15 years. Started out doing like chill wave stuff and vaporwave stuff. And then kind of pivoted to like indie dance. And then all of a sudden was doing this like 70s psych rock sound. And he changed so much within that period of time. And I don't know, because I went into him, he'd already done all that. In my mind, that's just like, oh, these are just things he's done. But then he put out like another kind of psych rock album that I thought was really cool and different than the house album he did before that. And then after that, he made this like really kind of country, like almost Alex G EP that sounded really sick. And then after that, his most recent one that I didn't like as much though was like trap, his version of trap. Yeah. And it's like he's constantly switching it up. And even though I didn't like the new one as much, it's called Whole Earth, and it's like more trap inspired. There are a few songs on there that I think are really sick, and it's like you could play his whole discography, and each song that changed, you'd be like, this is the same guy. This is crazy.
That's the integrity.
Yeah.
Your music has to have integrity. That's true to yourself, always.
And if you're the one making it, I think it's not a far reach for people to to kind of genre hop. I don't think people are as chained to genre anymore with playlisting and things like that. I mean, in some ways, it's like in some ways we are like in more of an echo chamber than we used to be, but then also we have the ability to break out from that, I think, a little bit easier if you just have the free will to do so.
Yeah, you just can't care about the result.
Right.
That's the trick. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you would like that, his EP.
Yeah, I'll definitely download him.
Yeah, I'll send it your way. Do you have a favorite part of the creative process? Whether that be maybe the writing, the initial writing stages, recording.
I love it all. I really, I love producing the song. I love going to a studio. That's like the most fun playground thing ever.
Yeah, me too.
But I think a lot of that you can a lot of times you can ruin the initial emotional aspect of what you wrote through the studio process. So like we have a song off this new album. It's like I was really depressed when I wrote it, and I tried retracking it over and over again, and I could never get back to that initial nugget of feel that I did in that first voice memo. Because we go into the studio and we try to add all this stuff, put it on a click and all this shit, and it just killed the vibe. And so we ended up just leaving the voice memo in the thing and just, making it a raw thing.
Cool.
I think a lot of people it's easy to lose that emotional thing because you're only in that emotional state at one point in time, and you can really lose that in a studio pretty quick.
Yeah.
Honestly. I know that didn't answer your question, but
no, you're good. I mean,
I guess I like it all.
There's
honestly.
always a moment where, whether that be in the writing or the recording, or somewhere in between, there's like this, I don't know, the Holy Ghost moment that I feel like you feel it more than any other time.
Yes.
And sometimes it comes in and out. Like when you're writing a song, it's either the first time you figure out the melody for the chorus or even just part of it, and you're like, oh, like, and it hits you like, oh, this is where this thing is going. And then that might pop back up in the recording process where you hear the guitar tone for the first time. You're like, oh, wait, like with Tricks, like what we were talking about before this episode started, that once Tommy, when we were recording that song, once he locked in that guitar tone, I remember being like, oh.
It defines the song.
Yeah. And it gives you that starting point or just some checkpoint to be like, oh, this is where we are. I have a lot better idea of where it's going now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you find the easiest thing. You find the first thing to anchor everything else around. Because everything informs everything else, I guess. So if you find that true tone, like in Tricks, yeah, it's easy to build the song around that guitar tone.
Yeah.
It's very expansive. It permeates the whole song. It gives that glassy tone. Yeah.
Shout out to Tommy for producing that. Yeah, you crushed it.
One of the most interesting guitar tones I've heard in local music in a really long time.
Dude, that's sick.
Really, very cool.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. In your album, though, were there any like favorite moments, standout moments when you look back on it? Because now it's been maybe 8 or 9 months since you put it out. And I'm sure obviously you had it ready to go before you put it out. So it's been some time since you were in the studio recording it. What do you remember about it nowadays?
I think the easiest song that came out was Bear, honestly, which was
that might be my favorite.
That's everybody's favorite off the album,
yeah.
Truthfully. That just felt really there's very few moments, like there's probably only 3 moments I can think of where a song at the end of it you're like, yes. Like that's exactly how I thought of it, whatever. And Bear was like that for sure. It was a very easy song to write.
That's
honestly.
cool.
It was a hard guitar pattern to initially write, but it flew pretty quick. Yeah.
Nice. Sometimes it just flows, man.
Yeah. And like I think the most rewarding moment of that though was we structured the album to basically be like, we have it's basically all sad acoustic music until the end where it lifts off into Lady Redeemer, which is more of like an electric tone, more uplifting. Has this big tail end, uplifting spirit. And like, I guess Lady Redeemer for the next album is like kind of the template of tonal template for this next album. So that was rewarding, listening to the album for the first time, and you finally got to the end, and that finally got, after all that sadness, got uplifted.
Right.
That felt good.
I love when there's a song on an album that after the next one comes out, you can kind of go back and be like, oh, this one is where they were headed.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's kind of the intention of that song.
Yeah. Now I'll have to go back and listen to it knowing that. Get a preview for the next album. And you have a show coming up pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we do. Aisle 5 on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day.
Nice.
With Kobanova and Pondgorl, which you are both also Argyle Records.
That's
bands.
right.
It's an Argyle
Oh,
night.
Kobanova is also Argyle? I didn't know that.
They're doing their new album with Michael now.
Oh, okay,
which I've
cool.
heard snippets of. It's very good.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Aisle 5 is a great venue, and that's a pretty solid lineup you guys got going on.
Yeah, for sure. I
The
like
Argyle
Pondgorl.
crew.
Yeah. I like Pondgirl's new album a lot, too.
Yeah.
It had a good vibe to it.
Yeah.
I think she's from Athens. I'm not
really?
100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure she is.
Nice. Yeah, I remember going over to Michael's place and him sharing a couple of those songs that they were working on. I was like, this sounds pretty sick, dude. And it's cool to see that she's gotten some shine since releasing stuff pretty early on, I feel like.
Yeah. You got to believe the good shit will come through, you know?
Absolutely.
They recorded that in like one weekend, all of it.
That's
They
insane.
they mixed like live recording with dubbing and all that.
Right.
Just pretty impressive. I mean, I think there's like 14 songs on that album or something like that.
Jeez. That's
Do that
crazy.
in 3 days or 2 days.
I don't even know if I've ever written 14 songs. That's fucking crazy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that show. Everybody go check it out. February 15th, Aisle 5. Got a solid lineup. Perfect Animal, Pondgirl, Kobanova. But Eric, that's going to take us over to the last 5, where we're going to pull out 5 quick questions from this little magic bowl here. You can
bowl.
So you can kind of zhuzh it around. Go one by one. I'll let you pick them.
This is cool.
Yeah, it's a fun way to end it.
3 desert island albums. Let's see here. Probably Watch My Moves by Kurt Vile, which is the album he came with, I guess it was 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Lush by Snail Mail. I really love that album.
Is that the one with the red and blue? Yeah.
It's one of the best album covers ever.
So
But
sick.
The writing in that is so good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the tones are just awesome. Like a lot of the sad indie girl stuff, it's hit or miss with me.
Right.
But like, yeah, I really like that album.
She's somebody I want to get into and just have not found the right thing.
Her second album sucked.
Oh, really?
Her second album sucked.
Yeah, I remember people
Yeah.
I remember people loving that first one and then just kind of finding out she put out a second one and being like, wait, where was the hype around it?
She that Lush was just like a stream of consciousness, just pure as a driven snow.
Uh-huh.
All the lyrics and the drum tones are awesome in that. But I feel like she got signed to Matador after that, I think.
Okay.
And I think they put her with a bunch of producers and kind of twisted
Lost
her
some magic.
She just lost herself personally. That's
Yeah.
what I think. As somebody who likes her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that album sucks.
Maybe she comes back.
Maybe.
Sometimes they go through that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go through that and then they're like, fuck it, I'm not doing that anymore.
I hope so.
They have a comeback record.
Yeah. 'Cause she's got it in her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, probably be Faith by The Cure. I really like that album. It's very minimalist post-punk approach, and they put a lot of delay on the drums, and they do a lot of cool mixing things that I think is really cool. I could listen to that album over and over again. Yeah.
What should be my Cure starting point? Because everybody says Disintegration.
I think Head on the Door.
Head on the Door?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like, a lot of people attribute that as being one of the first alt-rock albums.
Okay.
But it has like In Between Days on it. I don't know if you've heard that.
I feel like it sounds familiar. I just need
That's a really good one.
I need a place that's a little poppier. Because Disintegration is like long and slow, and I'm like, it's just too much for me to start there, I think. So something like I do love Boys Don't Cry. I know that's kind of different than the rest of their stuff, but maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So you said, what's it called?
Head on the Door.
Head on the Door.
That's an amazing album. It's like if you really want to get the full experience, just load up their discography and go from start to finish. And
Okay.
you're like, what is this band? Like, what did I just listen to?
Yeah.
You're surprised at the instrumentation of it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I heard it. I listen to their discography probably once every 2 years.
Okay.
From scratch.
That's
Yeah,
sick.
I love it. Yeah.
That'd be a cool little project. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
Do you know Bandsplain? Have you ever heard of that podcast?
Oh, it's a podcast?
It is a
No.
podcast, yeah. I'm just going to recommend it to you because if you love The Cure, Bandsplain is a podcast where this girl goes, she has a new expert on a band, quote unquote, and they deep dive into a band's career, discography, lives. And I've heard about it because she did a 2-parter episode about Radiohead, who's like my favorite band ever. And the person she had on was the writer and host of Dissect podcast, which is another favorite of mine. So I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Like, I like him a lot. I don't know her, but this sounds like it could be cool. And it's 2-part episode, 3 or 4 hours each.
That's deep.
On one band.
That's deep, man.
Yeah. So it's like, oh
Wow.
shit. And it was awesome. They went so deep into every song, like every album, their lives outside of the albums. Like, it's insane. And she's hilarious too. So she like really keeps the liveliness of the podcast going. But they did one on The Cure.
Nice.
And I did, like I said, don't really know The Cure that much, but I'll just listen to episodes because I'm interested either in the band, whether I know them or not. And also, she's a great host. And the one on The Cure is awesome.
Hell
like
yeah.
really
What's it called
interesting.
again, the
it's called
podcast?
Bandsplain. Like,
Bandsplain.
like mansplain,
Okay.
but Bandsplain. So highly recommend it.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah. I don't know if you have Spotify or if
Yeah.
you've said you download stuff, which I'm like, respect.
That's a weird term. Yeah, I mean like add it to my.
Yeah, totally. I was picturing you like on iTunes.
Yeah,
like,
I
hell
buy
yeah, dude.
I buy them, you know.
Keeping it
go on
real.
SoundCloud, you know.
Yeah,
Pay
yeah.
the artist.
But Bandsplain is it's on Spotify. I'll send you the link because if you love The Cure, like you'll really get down to it because they get so detailed with the band members and all their stories and everything. It's really cool.
That's also why I love listening to discographies in full. Like if there's a band that I'm interested in, I'll download all of it.
Yeah.
Like when I heard your EP, I downloaded all your stuff and listened to it from start to finish.
Oh,
'Cause
that's cool.
I like
Oh my
hearing
God.
I like hearing how it progresses.
Yeah, man.
That's
you heard some duds then
rewarding.
for sure.
No, that's great.
Thanks. I appreciate that. That's cool. That's a cool perspective, and I like that as well. You know,
I like
that's kind of
hearing,
why that's kind of why I haven't taken off some of those old ones is because
It's who you are.
yeah, you see, yeah, it's like at some point in time I was just as excited about those as I am about my new ones, and it's cool to look back on it and be like, wow, I learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah,
you know,
that's how you tell if somebody's actually a good artist. Is how they change, man.
yeah,
If they stay the same, like we were saying, like I think it lacks integrity, and I think they don't know who they are as musicians.
It does come off like that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's check question
Oh, yeah.
number 2
All
here.
right.
I know we can just get lost in the sauce.
Let's see here. Musical hot take. Oh man.
Gonna get in trouble.
Oh, let me think a minute. Damn. I have a lot of hot takes. I just can't think of any.
I know a lot of these are on the spot
Yeah.
questions where like you have it locked,
Yeah.
but then you get asked and you can't remember.
I hate the Strokes.
Whoa. All right. Hold on.
Honestly, that's all right. That's a pretty
great.
hot
That
one.
is a really
All right,
hot take.
I'll juice it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So explain.
I've
Explain
listened to their
yourself.
discography.
Yeah.
So I've given them the due diligence. I think that the interlocking lead guitars is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's very cool how it's juxtaposed, and his voice has good tone. I just am not a fan of the writing, dude. I think that I like they have good singles, but I think that when I listen to albums in full.
Sure,
And
yeah.
like I've never every album I listen to them, I could never get like satisfied. Truthfully.
What songs do you like? Which ones?
Like I like Last Night a lot.
Okay.
That's an amazing melody.
Yeah.
And it's amazing lyrically. It's been a long time. I like some singles, but I don't know. It also might be I was in a band one time where the two guitar players, when I was playing bass, they were obsessed with them. That might have had something to do with it. Because they would always do that, like that Strokes guitar thing.
Sure.
Every single song. I think that
might have colored the experience
now that I think
a little
about
bit.
it, that probably was it.
Yeah. We just got to the root here. You're like, you need to let that go.
Yeah,
man.
you need to let it go, dude.
But that is that's funny. No one's ever said that on this.
That's
on
a
this
hot
podcast.
take.
That might be the hottest take.
People
I've ever
have a
had on
lot.
here.
People love the Strokes.
People really
for sure.
fuck with the
That,
Strokes.
they like
I do.
that's like start. Yeah, that's like inspires people to play music kind of level.
Yeah,
band,
I mean,
which I recognize.
Arguably, in the last since the turn of the century, you could argue that they are like one of the bands that has inspired the most bands. To start.
Yeah, no doubt. Sorry about that one, everybody.
Fuck you, Julian Casablancas. We don't like you.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Well, you don't, but whatever. Nice. That's a good one. That was a great one. Yeah. Let's go to question number 3.
That's funny. Dream 3-band bill? Okay. Damn.
Let's keep it alive. Well. Everyone's alive.
Let's do contemporary artists.
Sure. Yeah.
So I love Medium Build a lot.
Oh yeah.
I really like him.
Is he from Atlanta? Am I crazy?
Yeah, he's from Marietta.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to Lassiter High School out in Marietta.
That's cool.
So I would put him on there. MJ Lenderman would be cool. Mm-hmm. I think those would pair well. They're both kind of like, I don't know, they're Americana in their own way, which I like. I like the modern musicians. I like that Americana vibe. And then who would be the last one on there? I have no idea, man. I'll put Snail Mail on there just because we're just talking about her.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that'd be a cool bill.
That's a good 3.
Yeah.
I need to listen to more Medium Build.
I really like him, dude. I see him every time he comes to Atlanta. I've seen him like 3 times now.
Where does he typically play?
He played at Terminal West. He sold out Terminal West.
Cool.
That was the first show I saw.
Yeah.
He played at Georgia Theater. That was the last show I saw. But yeah, his new album Country was really, really good. I think you'd really like that.
Okay.
And then his second best one is this live EP he did. It's called like Live at RCA, like the RCA studio in Nashville or something. And it's like stripped down versions of his older songs, and that's epic. It's so good.
Nice.
And his live shows are amazing.
I'll check out Country. I feel like I've listened to some of his stuff, but just off the top of my head, I can't remember really quite what it sounds like. And but I've heard the name a million times, and you may have seen her.
I think you dig him. I think you kind of like, I can see similarities between your music and his music.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know Clover County?
Yeah. I saw her open for
That's
him.
what I was going to say. That might have been the show you saw.
Yeah, it was.
She was on this podcast at one time.
Really?
Before
she blew up?
Yeah, before she had a single song out, which is funny because I didn't know. I assumed she had a song out because she was playing a bunch in Athens. And like we were friends, and I was like, yeah, you should come on the podcast. Like, what song, and I went to go look her up. I'm like, oh, are you on Spotify? She was like, oh, not yet. Bro, nothing on Spotify yet. But she had like songs that she had been working on, and I think either had put it on SoundCloud or might have just been a private link or something.
Damn.
So no songs yet at all, which is so crazy to be like, I had her on the podcast before she started touring with Lord Huron.
God.
Which I'm like, holy shit.
I saw a post she did the other day. She was like, in 2022, literally 2022, she had like her goals for that year, and it was like, play an open mic.
Right.
Like,
totally.
What?
Yeah.
How do you go from that to where she is now, opening for Lord Huron? Like, give me a break.
Yeah,
man.
we both moved to Athens
crazy.
like the same year, both 2022, and I remember meeting her at like this music festival, and we were both like trying to just play shows in Athens.
And that's hilarious.
I know. Like so quickly she blew up, which is awesome.
Her
like,
content's great.
Yeah.
She's so good at making good content.
She is.
Yeah.
She's a very sweet person as well. So it's cool to see her taking off.
Yeah. That's funny, dude.
All right. Question number 4.
Alrighty. Chugging right along. Dream artist or producer to work with? I mean, dang. I mean, you'd have to go with like Rick Rubin. I mean,
yeah, if we're going
in
dream
your fantasy, yeah. I mean, have him sit there like a yogi and just be
totally.
like, Do what you feel.
Right. How does it feel inside?
Yeah. He's like,
You're
I'm gonna sit in this corner.
You're so right.
The universe exists within you, and yes.
Right. And you're like,
Yes.
fuck, you're so right. Like,
Fuck.
I know it'd be hard not to pick him.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the top
Yeah.
of the food chain.
Absolutely.
Like, wouldn't you want to know what that's like?
Just to experience that would be amazing.
Yeah. The list of people he's worked with is just
Yeah.
unreal.
And I love how in all those interviews he's like, yeah, I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know anything about mixing. I just sit there and just
He's like, I don't even
whatever
touch-
my personal tastes are. Or
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Seems like he just is like he can help guide them spiritually
Yeah.
through whatever they're doing,
Yeah.
which is so interesting. Like, I don't know anybody that works like that.
Yeah. I saw you had that book. Yeah. The
Yeah,
Creative
yeah, I
Mind.
need to find a proper place
I got
for
that
it.
too. It's
I
a
need
good
to-
read.
It is, yeah. I haven't finished it because I
neither.
do want, like, I go page by page, but I don't like to read more than one chapter at a
Yeah.
time because it just feels like each chapter is such a, like, you should take this in.
Yeah.
And if I just keep kind of blow through them, I'm like,
You don't absorb all the wisdom.
right. But then
Yeah.
I get late. I should have it on this coffee table. Then I would actually read a chapter every day. So now you've inspired me to do that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But all right, let's check last
Alrighty.
question.
Let's get a deep one.
Yeah, really, really a deep one.
Song you wish you wrote. Wow. These are some questions, man.
I do love that one.
Oh man. Wow. Probably Jesus Fever by Kurt Vile.
Okay.
I really love that song. And he uses like a drum machine in it, and his just acoustic guitar tones are really good. I think with Soft Applause, that was really inspired by Watch My Moves.
Okay.
And he just has a really unique way of recording acoustic guitar and blending electric aspects, which I think is cool. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go on a Kurt
I'm
Vile kick.
obsessed with him, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of my favorite. He's top 3.
Yeah, send me a good starting place.
Yeah.
Like a song to check out because I really only know, well, now I know that The War on Drugs is not necessarily his. But I've heard Walking on to Pretty Days
like Pretty Pimpin'.
way
stuff
back in the
like
day.
that.
Yeah. But maybe I should come back to it. And I'll check out Jesus. What is it?
Jesus Fever.
Jesus Fever. I'll check that one out.
That's a good one. He's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Just listen to Watch My Moves.
Okay.
People either love him or hate him.
Yeah,
honestly.
I know a lot of people that love him.
A lot of people hate his voice. They hate
Right.
the longer format songs.
Right.
But I do like longer format songs.
They're fun.
Yeah.
My tastes kind of vary sometimes. I used to be like, no long songs, like really kind of hard about that. And lately it's opened up because like, I don't know, I got into Autechre. I don't know if you know Autechre. They're like an electronic duo, super, out there music. And it's all like electronic, but they'll have songs that are like 13 minutes. And like, once I started getting into that and like accepting that, now like songs that are like 6 minutes long that are like poppy in some way, or maybe not even, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like it doesn't bother me as much. I don't want it to drag,
Yeah.
but like if you can fill that space in, I'm a little more patient.
I love long format songs where they lock into a groove for a long time and it really rolls over. And when it does change, like at minute 8 when it changes, because you've been locked into that groove, it's magnified by like 10.
Right.
That one moment in that song. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A nice payoff.
Yeah. If people are just looping shit forever and it doesn't ever change or have a good structure to it, I'm not big into it.
No,
But,
totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Eric from Perfect Animal, thanks for coming on the podcast,
Thank
man.
you for having me, dude.
It was a blast. Everybody should go see your show at Aisle 5 here in Atlanta. Opening with Pondgorl, playing for Kobanova.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
Yeah, everybody go check it out. And also go stream Soft Applause.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Of course, dude. Thanks for coming on.
On that note, with Parker Whirling.